In this tutorial, I'm going to be taking you through how to test and measure your core strength and stability, which is perfect for the How to Build Core Strength and Stability 12-week online program that I provide. If you just click the link down in the description, you can go and find out a little bit more about it. This is how I start the program, and this is how we measure your progress throughout the program as well, because there's one thing with core stability, with regards to core stability programs, is we want to know if they're working or not. So what we're going to do is we're going to test it, give you your baseline. If you then go through to the 12-week online program, you can then go through the program and then retest at the end and see how much of an improvement you've made, be it 10%, 50%, 100%, or whatever it may be. So let's get straight into it. How this tutorial is going to work: first of all, we're quickly going to talk about core strength and core stability and what they are, and then that is basically going to help us understand the tests that we need to do to be able to measure the progress. Number one, core strength is the ability to hold a posture or position for a prolonged period of time without fatigue. So when it comes to testing, what we're going to do is we're going to use the plank and we're going to use the side plank. We're going to do that for time. So basically, you're just starting a clock at the start of the plank and then stopping it at the end, and the same on the side plank on the left and the side plank on the right. Number two is core stability. Now we've got two tests for that one. One is a hand plank where we lift our arm, and then the second is a bridge where we lift our leg. And what we're looking for there is, do the hips weight shift or do they rotate? Now I'm going to talk more about the the rules for the test and to be able to make them a fair test in a second. But essentially, with regards to stability, it's all about the timing of the muscles. When the muscles time better, then you're able to hold your hips centered, which is the goal of any core stability. If you've got hips, as I mentioned, rotating or weight shifting, then there's some instability in the system which we need to remove. Test number 1 of 4, we're going to be using the plank. Now, there's a couple of ways that I recommend doing this. So I'm not going to be doing the test with you, but I'll be teaching you how to do it. So then as soon as this video finishes, you can jump down on the floor and test it yourself, get your score or get your measure, and then you can start the 12-week program to be able to progress that and improve those scores. So what's going to happen is, first of all, we can either do this in a half plank or a full plank position. The main thing is that we need the test to be exactly the same at the start and at the end. So if we choose to do a half plank, we would start down on the knees, maintain straight line and that neutral posture through the spine. So we're not trying to be here, we're not trying to be here, we're nicely in the middle. And then we're holding that for time. Now, the only sort of get out of jail cards that you have got is something that you need to be able to measure yourself. This is what I would normally do with a person, is if you're in this position and your hips start dropping, you basically get 2 lives, and then on the third one, the test ends. So if you find your hips dropping, pick them back up, find the hips dropping, pick them back up, and then the third time drop, then you're done. So that's if you're doing it in the half plank. If you're doing it in the full plank, again, very similar. Starting in this position, and then lift one leg, lift the other leg, and you're in your full plank. Keep the arms parallel, and again, that straight line going through shoulder, hip, and down to the foot. If you want to be slightly higher, then that's okay, at the hip that is, but maintain that neutral posture. So as you drop down, you can then correct yourself and come back up. So that's the plank. The only other thing you will need is the stopwatch, which basically, once you're in position, it just goes down in between your hands. So you can start, up you come, stop, down you go. Obviously, what you then do, go through the 12-week program, perform the exercises or perform all the workouts. What will then happen over the 12 weeks is you will then retest at the end, be able to see the improvements in the score, and then if, for example, you go from a 1-minute plank to a 2-minute plank, you've increased your core strength, or core endurance I should say, by 100%. So it's a very simple and easy way to be able to measure your progress, but it's a very clear way that you're measuring your progress. The second one is the side plank. So again, you've got two options. You can do it down on the knees, or you can do a full plank up on the feet. Again, as I mentioned with the plank, you have to do the same test at the beginning of the 12-week program as you do at the end. So if you find that the kneeling side plank is too easy at the end, I still recommend doing it, because then you're going to get a truer representation of your progress. Because there is no definite way of saying how much improvement is made when you go from the kneeling to the full plank. And it's exactly the same in the plank. So again, to be able to keep it a fair test, if you start on the kneeling plank, you end on the kneeling plank. If you start in the full plank, you end on the full plank, full side plank, that is. Now, with regards to the posture and position you need to be in, again, it needs to be a fair test, so it needs to be exactly the same. So you've got two options with the feet. You can either stack them and come up into this position, or you can split the stance and come up into this position. So again, choose your posture of the feet or position of the feet, and you need to maintain that. With regards to the rest of the body, basically the hips need to be stacked on top of each other, the shoulders need to be stacked on top of each other, so we're holding this position here. And again, exactly the same as the plank. If it drops down, you got one life. If it drops down again, that's your last life. You come back up. As soon as it goes down again, you drop down. Final thing with this one is the stopwatch just goes down here, and again, you can stop it and start it when you come up and when you go down. For the kneeling plank, it's just very simple. Your knees come in behind and you come up into this position. Again, you're just holding it for time and just maintaining the position that you're in. Again, keeping the shoulders stacked, keeping the hips stacked. The only thing I will say about the full plank is we need to keep this lower part of the leg off the floor. So when some people do it, they will drop their leg down like this. What we need to do is keep up on the side of the foot so there is clear space between the lower leg and the floor. So those two are the core strength, core endurance tests. So all you need to do, perform those tests, start the clock at the start, and then as soon as you finish it, stop the clock, make a note of your time, complete the 12-week program, and then perform the exact same two tests again, mark down your scores, and then see your improvement. Now, if you are at a point where you complete the program and you get the improved score, please do pop your scores down in the comment section below. So pop your starting score and your finishing score, and then we can see your progress over the 12 weeks. And if you even want to do it once every 4 weeks, or so in the 4th week, do it then, do it in the 8th week, do it in the 12th week, and you can track your progress all the way. Again, stick it all in the comments below. I'll see it. I'll be able to encourage you all the way through to keep improving core strength and endurance. The second two tests is all about core stability, which is about the timing of the muscles, as I mentioned before. So if they aren't timing properly, we're going to get weight shifts, we're going to get rotations. Now, this is slightly harder to be objective about. So objective is the time that you come up in the plank and the time that you finish. You can lie, but if you start at the right time and you stop at the right time, then that's your objective time. There's no opinion about it. Whereas these tests, there is a slight subjectivity to it, where there is some slight discrepancy and it's not as objective. Because what we're doing is we're trying to notice how much rotation or how much weight shift that you have. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, this is a little bit harder to measure, but within yourself, as long as you're honest with yourself, you can understand the difference. If there is a big rotation or a big weight shift at the start and a much smaller one, or it's gone away at the end, then obviously there is improvement there. So as I mentioned, the two that we're going to do is a hand plank and a bridge. So I'll start with the hand plank. So what we're going to do is essentially we come down, so you can have the feet, or I'm going to have the feet on the corner of the mat, and I'm going to have the hands just on the inside. I'm then going to come up into a hand plank, and I'm going to touch my shoulder, and I'm going to touch my shoulder. Now again, what you're trying to notice is, do the hips weight shift from side to side, or do they rotate? So as an example, if I just do that facing the camera, or head onto the camera. So if we come into this position and I do that, I've got a weight shift to the right and I've got a weight shift to the left. Or it could be I've got a rotation to the right or a rotation to the left, or it could be a sort of a mix of the two, which is weight shift and rotation, weight shift and rotation. So all of that would need to be noted down. So just left, right, you've got weight shift, you've got rotation, or you've got both. And then you would do that on the right side as well. So mark all of that down. It is a bit subjective with regards to how much, but you should be able to tell by the time you get to the end, because hopefully you will be able to control that through the training program that you go through. So the hand plank is exactly the same as the plank with regards to performing it. All you want to do, you want to have your hands below your shoulders, and then your feet out sort of just wider than shoulder width apart. What we're then doing is just lifting the arm up, tap the shoulder, lift the arm up, tap the shoulder. Now, if you feel that you can't lift it, you can't lift your arm, then that's another good sign, because when you complete the 12-week program, or as you progress through it and you retest, you may find that you can now pick the arm up, which you can then say there is a definite improvement there. So that is a very objective way of being able to say that it has improved, just for the very simple reason that you can lift an arm up and keep some degree of centeredness to the hip. So with regards to the core stability, what you want to be looking for is centered hips. So nothing moves. So as I touch down and lift up, nothing moves from side to side. That's the end goal. When we get there, we know we've got some degree of stability through the hips and through the torso. Second core stability test is the bridge. Now this is essentially exactly the same in principle, but we're just doing it the other way around and we're lifting our legs up. So what happens is we come down into sort of the bridge position. We have our feet slightly wider. So again, about shoulder width apart, arms go across our chest because we don't want any support. We lift up the hips and then we lift a leg and we lift a leg. And again, what we're looking for is if I come into this position, so what we're looking for is when I lift up, do I get a weight shift? Do I get a weight shift? Or is there just a drop? My hips drop towards the floor, both of them, as I go left and as I go right? Or do I have sort of a rotation just on one side, like so? So all of that will need to be noted as you do it. But first of all, you have to get the hips up so you've got a straight line from shoulder, hip, and into the knee. So we get that first. We lift a leg. Do we get weight shift? Do we get a drop? Or do we get a rotation? And all that needs to be noted. Or is it all three of them? So once we understand that, again, you go into the program, track your progress, measure your progress, and then see the improvement. So that is how to measure or test and measure your core strength and your core stability. Again, if you want to go ahead and start improving it, by all means, just click in the description below. You'll go through to the page, you can find out more about the program, and then just click enroll, and you can get started straight away. So many thanks for watching. My name is Chris. I'll speak to you in the next tutorial.